Hi everyone, this is Sagar Shah and I'm here with a complex position. Over here it's white to move and your task is very specific. You have to analyze the move Queen G6. Is it winning? Is it a draw? Or is it losing? So why have I come up with this position and why have I written that this is the Nihal Sarin, complex Nihal Sarin position? Well, a few months ago, Nihal shared this position on his social media on Instagram, and he said that this was one of the most beautiful positions with a lot of attacking and defensive possibilities that he has ever seen. And that caught our attention because it's not so easy to impress a player like Nihal who's playing hundreds of blitz games every day. So your task is very specific here. White to move queen g6. How good a move is that? If you have already thought about it, then go on and listen to the solution. If you haven't done so, pause the video, take some time for yourself, and then listen to what the answer is. So first thing you notice here is that black is two pieces up, has the two extra bishops, but the black king is in trouble here. And the reason why queen g6 is asked to be analyzed is because white has f into g7 in this position, which seems pretty good. If you take the pawn, then there is h6, and once the bishop moves, say here, then you go queen h5 with the threat of knight g5, and this is very strong. So maybe black's best defense is bishop e7 and the game goes on. However, let's move to queen g6 because that's clearly very interesting. Now, if you go to say h8 or g8, you're losing because knight g5 comes with great force. If king h8, knight g5, there's a mate on h7. You must take the queen. I take back. It's a check, king g8, and it's a mate. If king g8, it's pretty similar. I still go knight g5 threatening a mate. If you take, I give you a check, and after king h8, there is h6 once again with checkmate. So it's pretty straightforward that the king cannot go back. Hence, you must take the queen. And now, again, knight g5 is pretty much forced. If you take on g6, then now after king g6, it looks like black is completely fine. So knight g5, uh, king h8 would be bad because of h into g6. So king h8, hg6 and checkmate. While king g8 again loses to the same idea and a mate. So therefore king has to move up and now the knight is attacked. So knight jumps in to f7 and many people said that this is a draw now because you repeat and there is no way that black can deviate. But actually, it's white who should try and play for a win with h into g6. And it seems like you are leaving away the black king to move out, but not really, because the knight now jumps to h8 with a check. And you will see that all these squares are covered. So only move is king to g5. And here comes the tricky move. Actually, you start to think about a lot of different checks like rook h5. You see, oh, g4 is hanging, knight f7. Then once again, g4 could hang. So you feel like, okay, the king running out like to f4 or g4 is the main problem. And that's when you find the move rook to d4. Well done if you saw this, but not well done if you thought that now white is winning because you have the super big threat of rook h5 checkmate. Black can prevent it in two ways. One is g6, actually three ways, and the third way is the right way. But g6 will lose to knight f7 mate. If bishop e8 controlling this square, then you have f7 now threatening rook. So for example, if you take knight f7, king g6, knight h8, king g5, there is rook h5 mate. And if you go g6, then once again after making a queen, this is already game over. So here many people feel that that's done, but when Nihal has given this position, it can't be so simple. I would definitely say Rook D4 is not an easy move to spot, but there's still a lot of twists in the tail. Queen into A2 is what you had to consider. Always look at checks and captures in a position. Now, white must take the queen, because if he doesn't and goes to C1, then there is queen A1 check and you lose the rook. So you take the queen, and now rook takes C2 swoops in, and king A1 or B1, that is the question now. If king A1, then black has a powerful move. What is it here? Very well done. If you found the move rook c1, deflecting the h1 rook, and now taking g into f6, and you will notice that actually black has a lot of material, two bishops for a rook, and black is clearly winning here. So therefore king b1 is again the only move in the position, and here it's easy to say that this is all over, but you are two pieces up, so you can afford to give up some material. The first move that would come to your mind is rook c1, but after king c1 there is nothing much happening, and that's when you spot the move rook to h2. Once again, phenomenal move, stopping rook h5 check, so it has to be taken. And now you ask how to stop this. Well, the move now is bishop to d3 check. So black is giving away as many pieces as he can to save his king. After all, that's the most important thing. And if you play your king to b2 now, then after bishop g6, rook h5 is stopped, and actually black is winning now. Because even the knight is sort of dominated. So you must take the bishop, and now white is material up, but the knight on h8 is not so well placed. And actually, many of the players would feel that you have to calculate till here, but I think for many strong players, like say 2600, 2700 players, this is actually the point which is a critical moment in their calculation, because all the forcing lines have been completed, and here there are choices. So one choice, if the way in which you can calculate candidate moves is to give the move to your opponent. So if it was white's move here, he would play the move rook to d4, and then once again it's impossible to stop this mate. So because of this rook to d4 idea, moves will come to your mind, which is to stop this rook d4. So the moves are knight c6, knight b5, of course bishop c5 also, but then fg7, you lose a pawn, so doesn't look so great. There is also g into f6, so knight b5, knight c6, g into f6, and these are king f4, maybe trying to run away with the king. Also king into g4 doesn't look great, because after fg7 you will lose the bishop here. So let's begin with, first of all, knight b5. This is a very interesting move, stopping d4, rook d4. White has now a strong move, which is rook to g3, defending his g4 pawn, and bringing his rook into the action over here. Now king f4 is possible, but then you go rook g1, bishop c5, rook gh1, knight c3, king c2, gf, ef, rook c8, and f7. This is objectively winning for white, but it looks complicated. The other possibility is after rook g3 to take on f6, when after rook g1, the idea is very clear. You take here, I want to free my knight, so I will give you a check, king f6, then rook f1, and knight g6 wins. If you go to f4, then I give knight g6 check and rook h8, and once again I'm winning more material. Remember, even this position is not trivial, but it is winning for white. So therefore, g into f6 is another possibility instead of knight b5. And here there are many moves, but I think rook d4 is nice, threatening rook h5. So you take, check, king f6, and rook d1. As you know, I want to give a check and get my knight out. So king e7, knight g6 already is great for us. So bishop c5, rook f1, king e7, rook h7, king d6, knight f7, king c6, knight into e5, and white is winning. So gf6, rook d4 is nice. I like it because you push your king back and then you bring your rook back to get your knight out. Instead of knight b5, there's also knight c6, and I would go rook d1, gf ef, king f6, and now a powerful move is rook h7, cutting the king off. Knight into e5 is met with rook h5, king f6, and rook f1. So that doesn't work. And lastly, a move like rook c8 never works here because of rook d4 threatening a mate. Um, I think we covered everything. If king f4, you have knight f7, gf6, ef6, knight b5, g5, and white is winning. So all these lines have to be looked at least some detail, and then you can come to a conclusion that actually here white is winning. But you have to look at knight b5, knight c6, gf6, and all such possibilities with the king and the pawns, and then you would realize that white is better. So once again, just to recap, queen g6 is a winning move, but after this, knight g5, knight f7, you move your knight to h8, and then you get rook d4 when it's a forced mate on h5, and black has to start sacrificing one piece after another. First the queen, then the rook, then the bishop, but in the end, this is a complex position but objectively winning for white. I hope you liked it, and I would like to thank Nihal for sharing such positions with us, because through such positions you understand how top level calculation works, how they are thinking about different positions, and really this was quite a study like thing. So you find it in a lot of books, but for it to happen in your blitz game is very rare. And this brings me to my last point of this video, which I wanted to make, is that often we play blitz games, but we just finish it off and we say, okay, it's done. But I would say it's a very good habit to just go over the blitz game once to see what were the nice moments like Nihal did here, and that actually led to a beautiful position for all of us to solve. Imagine if Nihal had just started another blitz game, then we would not have got this to enjoy today. This is Sagar Shah signing off. I hope you enjoyed the position.